Hey you, I'm Sarah Turner. I'm a freelance copywriter and copywriting mentor. And let's talk about how to prevent scope creep. So, how you can scope a copywriting project so this doesn't happen. And scope creep, if you haven't heard the term before, you will. It's a term just to kind of indicate when you've kind of set some expectations, you sent a proposal, a deposit has been paid maybe, and the project kind of turns into something you didn't quite expect. Now, this is something that I think almost everyone who is a freelancer has experienced, and there are a lot of things that you can do to put in place. One thing that I love to say though is I can tell you all day long how to prevent scope creep. But there is no better lesson than it happening to you, you feeling the frustration of it, you learning the lessons that you can from that situation and applying it to the future. Because sometimes you'll hear a piece of advice to prevent scope creep, for example, but until you felt the frustration that comes from it, it can be hard to actually implement it yourself. And I have seen this happen with so many of my students. I give them all the advice in the world. They don't quite implement it. And then they have this situation arise and they say, man, I should have listened to Sarah. But they learn that lesson in that moment. They're going to apply it moving forward. They're going to really trust and believe that this advice exists for a reason. And they're going to move forward and it's going to be a little bit easier next time. So don't beat yourself up if this happens to you. It's happened to all of us. And keep in mind that it's always a learning experience. So you can always look back and ask yourself, what did I learn in this situation? How can I apply it moving forward so that I don't experience this kind of frustration again? But with that in mind, I've got a few solid tips for how to prevent scope creep. First things first, set extremely specific expectations. I'm talking word counts, and they can just be guidelines, not necessarily the exact words, but word counts, pricing, turnaround times. Set super clear expectations and have them in writing in the form of a proposal. And I even call things out. For example, I like to say that edits have to be returned to me within a week. And I make sure I do that and I explain, this is to keep the ball rolling and to make sure that you're really concise with your edits. So limiting the number of edits and having a limited amount of time in which they can turn them around to you are two major expectations to include in your proposal. So set very clear expectations. Now, another thing that can help in a situation like this is you can actually find pieces that are similar to what your client's expecting. So for example, if you're writing a landing page, I still like to have clients send me a landing page that they've seen or something similar so that I can know what they're expecting as far as length and how detailed it is. This is also really good for opt-ins. If you ever write an ebook, again, things that can be really range and how long they are. It's really good to set expectations with some examples. It can be examples that you have created, it can be examples that you found, and it can be examples that your client has found. So set very clear expectations, and those are some of the areas that you can run into trouble. Number of edits, turnaround time for edits, especially in getting them back from your client, and on the length of a piece. The next thing I want to encourage you to do is ask about budget. If you don't feel comfortable asking about budget and you're a newbie and you feel like you're going to backslide and discount your rates right out the gate, you can say, let me put together a proposal for you and I'll send it over via email. I actually think that's a good advice for somebody who's first starting out and maybe not comfortable having those price conversations right out the gate. But I want to empower you and encourage you to ask about the budget pretty quickly in your journey as a copywriter because it's going to eliminate a lot of confusion. Now, keep in mind, people will often say a budget that's lower than what their actual budget is, just kind of in the sense of negotiating and trying to see what they can get out of your negotiations. So keep that in mind. So ask about their budget and put together something that is on target with their budget according to your prices, but also put together something that is slightly above their budget. And here's the thing, when you are outlining what is included in the work, setting your expectations, also demonstrate the value. And again, make recommendations, make comprehensive marketing strategy recommendations based on budget, again, allowing yourself to have one option that is slightly above, and making sure that it's a really, truly like good recommendation for a client. For example, maybe they came to you because they want you to write emails and you're looking at their website and you're like, I don't know what you do. So my recommendation might be like, hey, I know you've contacted me for emails. Here's a monthly retainer. Here's what it would include. But after our conversation, understanding your business goals, I can see that you would really benefit from a thorough copy written, right, with CTAs and, with the goals in mind and the right persuasive techniques and SEO. You would benefit from a rewrite of your website. So making good recommendations within their budget and something that's slightly above is something that is really going to help you with scoping a copywriting project that is beneficial not only to you, but to your client. And again, setting those very, very clear expectations. So going back to kind of that first point that I made within this strategy. So the next thing I want you to include is to set a realistic timeline. And I mean a realistic timeline for you. So if your client is saying, I want something by tomorrow, which happens sometimes, do not be afraid to either say, one, my next available deadline is a week from now. Sorry about that. Here it is. And being okay with that because you want to deliver quality work. Because oftentimes people want something really fast just because they want something really fast. It's just like they want the instant gratification. So don't be afraid to push back on that. Or if they say they want something in 48 hours, you slap on a rush fee because that means that you are going to need to get your shit together and really grind through this thing much more quickly than you normally would. So don't be afraid to charge a rush fee. The other benefit of setting a realistic timeline is it prevents you from overwhelm and taking on too many projects at one time. So really get comfortable setting boundaries here. It's going to make your work with your client a lot better. And quite frankly, sometimes when you set a strong boundary with a client, my students are super surprised to hear this and to experience this themselves. But you might be scared to set that initial boundary, but usually what ends up happening if you do it well and respectfully is they turn around and they respect you more. They have more respect for you for putting boundaries in place. And it's a really wonderful and important realization for newbie copywriters. The last strategy I want to leave you with for scoping a copywriting project is to identify what I like to call your secret hourly rate. Now, this is not actually having an hourly rate. I would never recommend that you charge hourly. I have lots of videos and explanations as to why. Project-based pricing, I think, is far better for copywriters, especially because the copy we produce is so dependent on the value it delivers. Like direct response copy is just worth so much more than a blog, for example. But anyway, identifying your secret hourly rate will help you scope projects because over time, and again, this is going to take some getting used to, and you're going to have to learn how fast you take to do something. But you will start to know how long it takes you to do something. And when you can identify where your time is going and how much you're charging and kind of break it down into your secret hourly rate, you'll start to notice, okay, with this client, I have maybe a secret hourly rate of like $50 an hour. And with this client, I have a secret hourly rate of $100. And just comparing those two clients and the work that you're doing can help you refine your process. How can I go after more clients like this? Or maybe I'm realizing that emails have a much higher secret hourly rate for me than blogs, for example. That's a really common realization. So when you have a secret hourly rate, and you come across a new project, like say maybe you've never written a landing page and your client wants you to write a landing page, you know it's going to be about X number of words because we've already gone through the strategies I've set up until this point, and you're thinking it's going to be about X number of words, and you know that maybe it takes you 2 hours to write a 1,000-word blog, so you're going to kind of incorporate that, and then you can use this secret hourly rate to kind of scope out the price of a landing page or something that you've never written before, right? And again, all of this is going to take practice because it's going to be a balance between how long it takes you, the value of the copy that you're delivering, and kind of your own skill set, right? So it is really common. Most of my students have a secret hourly rate of $100 or more. That is something I often encourage them. But again, it's not something you communicate with the client. It's something you use to kind of scope out your work based on your own experience and kind of what the results you're getting for your clients and how long these things take you. So scoping out work and setting clear expectations to prevent scope creep is something that takes practice. And really, truly, the best possible practice for you is going to come from trial and error. So these are some of my best tips for you to incorporate in your pricing. But keep in mind, it's a little bit of trial and error, and you're gonna have some frustrating situations, but those frustrating situations are going to inform your future decisions, your future proposals, and your future interactions. So I hope this helps. I hate scope creep. I know you probably do too. And I would love to hear anything else that has helped you in the comments. And of course, hit that thumbs up button if this helped you. And of course, please don't forget to subscribe. It means so much to me. Thanks, guys.